coming to you from Las Vegas. This is known as Warzone Live, Monday through Friday. Now at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. Great to be with you. All kinds of things happening. Economic issues are my number one thing. Border issues are my number one thing. DEI issues are my number one thing. We had Don Trump Jr. yesterday, and we finish up with Laura Trump today. Laura, Wayne Allyn, how are you? We got a big guest and a great interview today with Dr. Oz with us right now.
Good to see you. I like your tie, by the way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Great to see you. Always great to have you on the show.
Wayne Allyn Root, happy to see you again on the cutting edge of things on your show, whether it's medical, political, you name it, you're on top of it. So just great to hear that. Great to hear that.
So wonderful to be with you again, Wayne. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be with you tonight.
It's great to see you, Wayne. How you been?
Anytime, Wayne. Great to see you.
Hey, Wayne. Great to see you, brother.
Hey, Wayne. Good to be with you.
Wayne, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Lots going on.
Doing great, Wayne. Glad to be here.
Well, thanks, Wayne. I don't see myself as a hero. I'm just trying to keep this community safe.
This is The War Zone, the official podcast of the Gateway Pundit. 2.5 million unique daily readers. Also on Rumble under Wayne Allyn Root, or Warzone. Then on weekends, we got our big show, America's Top 10 Countdown on Real America's Voice TV. Well, everybody else is giving opinions. I give solutions. And some of them Trump takes, some of them he doesn't. I wish he'd take all of them. This is the Wayne Stream Media. No more mainstream media allowed in. Only Wayne Stream Media, meaning raw truth and in your face, mother trucker information. The Root's on fire. Welcome to my show, Warzone Live. Monday through Friday, official podcast, The Gateway Pundit. 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. Hey, Wayne Allyn Root, America Speaks. You call in and we talk about it. Your opinions, your comments, your questions. How do you call in? 800-347-ROOT. 800-347-ROOT. 800-347-7668. The show airs at midnight, East Coast time, 9 p.m. Pacific, but we tape it at 6 p.m. East Coast time, 3 p.m. Pacific. So you call in at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I talk to you, and it airs that night at midnight. The phone number again, 800-347-ROOT. That number is 24/7. You can leave voicemails. We play your voicemails on the air as well.
Hey, Wayne, what do you think about Obama?
He was a communist, socialist, Marxist radical.
I agree.
Or you can email me, wayneroot@gmail.com. I'll read your email live on the air with your comments or questions. America Speaks. My new book is out, How Illegal Immigrants Have Made America Great. You can only get it at Amazon. How Illegal Immigrants Have Made America Great. Finally, all of their unsung achievements in one book, and it's 100+ blank pages. Okay, get it? It's a gag gift, and it even says on the front, warning, do not show this book to Democrats. Their heads will explode. And the greatest gag gift ever for conservatives, Republicans, MAGA patriots, and anyone born in the USA. How Illegal Immigrants Have Made America Great. 100 blank pages. Go get 10 copies, 20 copies, give it out to all your friends so they get the message that illegal immigrants have not done anything to make America great. And by the way, understand my theory here. Legal immigrants have done lots of things to make America great. Our whole country is legal immigrants. My grandparents were legal immigrants. Your grandparents were legal immigrants. Your great-grandparents were legal immigrants.
Warning! The Root's on fire! You're about to experience the most high-octane, pedal-to-the-metal controversial show of your life. Please buckle up and hold on tightly. This station is not responsible for injuries. This is Wayne Allyn Root, raw and unfiltered, with America's favorite conservative rock star. Direct from the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas. What time is it? It's time for war! Here's your host, 100% raw truth, 100% American made, the warrior, Wayne Allyn Root.
All right, Wayne Allyn Root, the Root's on fire. Welcome to my show, Warzone Live. A couple minutes late today because we're in control. It's not on a TV network, right? So we can do whatever we want. I was kind of late getting all these articles set up and ready to go, and just finished my commentary a few minutes ago. It's just been a rush here, but everything's ready to go now. And my newest commentary, my latest commentary, is coming out tomorrow morning at the Gateway Pundit. And the title is The WNBA Women's Basketball League Doesn't Know What a Woman Is. But the more important question to ask, what is a Democrat? The funniest story of the year is the WNBA not being able to answer the question, what is a woman? The entire leadership of the women's NBA is paralyzed by this question. They have no idea what to say because A, the clueless far left morons who play basketball in the WNBA are a bunch of feminist and largely lesbian liberal women whose whole life is built around gay and transgender rights. And B, the clueless far-left morons who run the WNBA are a bunch of feminist and largely lesbian liberal women whose whole life is built around gay and transgender rights. And for the WNBA to admit that only a woman is a woman would destroy their whole reason for being. It would destroy the liberal lies of the far left. It would embarrass and humiliate their far left and mostly lesbian players, and it would turn off their far left fan base. To ban biological men from playing in the WNBA would be akin to finally admitting the whole far left, radical, insane fantasy about there being more than two genders is a lie, and this admission would collapse their whole league. But to actually come out and say men can be women and it's okay for biological men to apply for the WNBA draft will also destroy the league, because in a matter of a year or two, the WNBA players will be all men. The WNBA will become a women's sports league that has no women playing ever again. Talk about manpower. You know how they talk about women power? Manpower. If the WNBA lets biological men play in the women's league, that will be the end of women's sports. Men who couldn't make a pro men's team in any sport will suddenly become the Babe Ruths of women's sports. Name the women's pro sport: basketball, soccer, golf, tennis, track, gymnastics. You name it, men will take over. Not just any men, but weak men. The weakest men in sports will become champions of women's sports, the Babe Ruths. There'll be no more women in women's sports. There'll be no more women getting scholarships to college. There'll be no more women in the Olympics. That's why the WNBA is paralyzed. That's why a women's pro sports league can't or won't answer the question, what is a woman? Because they're dead either way. They can't win. It's a lose-lose. They're between a rock and a hard place. Excuse the pun, meaning that there's no men in the league right now. The WNBA has been caught in their own idiotic far left fraud and gaslighting. Fact, there are only two genders in this world created by God. But instead of asking the absurd question, what is a woman? The real question we should all be asking is, what is a Democrat? Because our nation's future depends on that life or death question. That answer is so important to all Americans because the midterms are coming up in a matter of weeks. And if we can answer that question correctly, we can make America great again. So here goes. I'm going to clearly define what is a Democrat. A Democrat is an evil scumbag brainwashed by and doing the bidding of Satan. A Democrat cares more about illegal alien murderers and rapists and pedophiles than American citizens and American children. A Democrat cares more about MS-13 drug traffickers and savages and thugs than American citizens. A Democrat cares more about keeping illegal alien commercial truck drivers who don't speak English on the road than protecting American drivers and their families on those roads. A Democrat is an open borders freak who wants to invite in the entire world of criminals, murderers, rapists, drug traffickers, pedophiles, mentally deranged psychos, not to mention billions, because that's who wants to come to America, everyone in the world. Billions of the world's helpless, unskilled, poverty-stricken welfare queens, all of whom will bankrupt, loot, and destroy the greatest country in world history, all to achieve one thing: to outvote real Americans so Democrats can control the U.S. government and all the power and all the money forevermore. A Democrat is someone willing to take bribes from China and the Chinese Communist Party and the Mexican drug cartels in order to keep the border open and the drugs and human trafficking and child sex trafficking flowing and thriving. A Democrat is someone rooting for America to lose the Iran war and for more U.S. soldiers to be killed and for the U.S. economy to be damaged and for the U.S. to be humiliated on the world stage in order to defeat President Trump and the GOP in the midterms. A Democrat is a radical communist suicide bomber who wants to destroy America and capitalism and the U.S. economy and the great American middle class in order to make us just another socialist communist country that enslaves its citizens into misery and poverty. A Democrat is a mindless, clueless Stepford wife who wants to defund the police, defund ICE, and eliminate prisons. A Democrat is someone who wants to let every criminal, even murderers and rapists, even career criminals with hundreds of arrests, walk out of prison with no bail required and give them all the right to vote, but wants to put peaceful, pro-life grandmas in prison for saying prayers outside abortion clinics and wants to put PTA parents in prison for disagreeing with communist brainwashing being taught in classrooms. A Democrat is someone who wants to put American patriots in prison for treason, for daring to ask for honest elections with voter ID, proof of citizenship, and in-person voting. I know this because a far-left green energy CEO from Las Vegas just sent me hate mail vowing to see me tried for treason for urging President Trump to declare a national security emergency for elections. A Democrat is someone who wants to brainwash your little children in school to change from boys to girls and girls to boys, and if you disagree, they want to take your children away from you. A Democrat wants to punish you for being successful and take away the money you earned from sacrificing and working 16-hour days your whole life, like I've done my whole life, while redistributing your money to reward lazy bums and illegal aliens who want welfare, food stamps, free housing, free college, free health care from cradle to grave. A Democrat is someone who is gay but marches in support of Gaza and Hamas, even though if they ever stepped one foot in Gaza, Hamas would instantly throw them off a 10-story building or stone them to death or hang them in a public square. That's the definition of a Democrat that every American voter needs to hear before the midterms. They're envious, evil, radical, ignorant, mentally ill, self-hating, and suicidal, and they want to take you and America down with them. Understanding that definition is life or death for America and the future of your children. Spread this definition, and we can win the midterms and make America great again. And that's the problem with the GOP, you know, because they don't want to say things like this. I don't think there's one GOP politician in America, even Trump, by the way, who really wants to say everything I just said. I think even Trump wouldn't say half of the stuff I just said, even though all of it is absolute 100% raw truth. And they won't say it, and they won't put it in TV ads. This is what you have to do to win the election. You've got to scare America to death that crazy people will be in charge, and they will burn this country down. And I'm not saying that in a way that means it's not true and we're trying to scare them with untruths. It is the truth. You need to not water down the message. You're not going to win unless you scare people to death with the truth and nothing but the raw truth. And just to show you, two men show up at a WNBA game in Toronto dressed as women and declare for next year's draft. This is the trouble the WNBA is in. To say no, men can't be in the draft means they're admitting there are only two genders, and they don't want to do that. It'll make them all look like fools and retards and crazy people and deranged and mentally ill, like they are and they always have been. And that's why these men are embarrassing you. You don't know what fools you are. Democrats are people that believe there are more than two genders. They're nutty. They're cuckoo for Cocoa Pops. They're crazy people. Here's an example of everything that sums up the Democrat Party. A legal alien who entered the U.S. on Biden's open border invitation murders a jogging mom in Virginia and tries to set her on fire. Another day, another woman brutally murdered by one of Joe Biden's illegal aliens. A 42-year-old mother was fatally stabbed by an El Salvadorian illegal alien in Great Falls, Virginia on Monday. Carmen Puch was stabbed to death on a walking trail by 19-year-old Alexis Antonio Cedillas Campos. I always say if illegal aliens could be paid by the name, they'd be rich. Why do they all have 100 names? I'm Wayne, Wani, Woony, Wani, Allyn Root. How many names can these people have? God, you're so poor, but yet you're so rich with names. The two were known to each other in a romantic relationship. According to authorities, Cedillos Campos repeatedly stabbed Carbon Push and doused her in gasoline. These third world savages cannot be tamed. He left work with a large fixed blade knife, a pair of gloves, and a water. And a water. The Department of Homeland Security lashed out at the Biden regime for releasing this monster in the streets of Fairfax County. They hand-delivered Alexis Antonio Cedillos Campos to the streets of Fairfax County. He's a criminal illegal alien from El Salvador, arrested by Border Patrol in 2024 after illegally crossing the Biden open border near El Paso, Texas. After his arrest, he was released in the interior of our country. The Biden administration recklessly unleashed millions of unvetted illegal aliens into American communities and abused the law to do so. President Trump and Secretary Mullen are now enforcing the law, arresting illegal aliens who have no right to be in our country, and have reversed Biden's deadly catch and release policies. We are urging Governor Spamberger to put her community first and turn this criminal illegal alien over to ICE. Once again, just like the WNBA, she's in a no-win. She's in a lose-lose. She's between a rock and a hard place. I realize no lesbian's ever between a rock and a hard place. There are no hard places in the lesbian world, right? But they need a man for a hard place. But it's just incredible to me. She can't win. Either she's going to admit she was wrong and illegals are terrible and we need ICE and turn them over to ICE because it's a war on women. They're getting stabbed and murdered and raped and set on fire. Or she's going to not do it and prove that the Democrat Party defends illegals over murdered, raped, set on fire women. It's just truly incredible what's going on. And by the way, I've said this on TV for years and years. I remember back in 2017, I got my own TV show on Newsmax TV, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, the Bill O'Reilly time slot. And Bill O'Reilly joined me 3 times a week at the top of the show. So me and Bill O'Reilly basically had our own show going on Newsmax TV back in 2017. And I remember a woman was jogging and she was stabbed and murdered and raped. And I remember saying, I don't get it. I work out in the gym every day in my home gym where I'm completely safe. No one can ever run me over by mistake or on purpose. No one can stab me. No one can shoot me. You can't get raped. You can't get mutilated. You can't get set on fire. Stand on a treadmill or an elliptical or a rower in your own gym with the TV on, watching movies and TV like I do every day, and then you can't get raped and murdered. Why are women jogging alone? I said that then. And the crazy liberal media put a headline, I believe it was in the UK Daily Mail and the Star in England. They both ran the story in a headline. Donald Trump's friend, TV host Wayne Root, blames murdered women for their own murder. How am I blaming women for their own murder? I'm just giving good advice. You can't get raped and murdered if you jog on a treadmill in your own home. Why are you going alone on a jogging trail? It's just ridiculous. The odds of getting killed are probably close to zero, but it's always going to be there. Some chance, some crazy man is going to rape you, brutalize you, and or murder you, and then set you on fire after he rapes and murders you. That can't happen if you jog at home while watching a great movie or a great TV show or a great TV series, which is what I do every day, by the way. And I'm not a woman, I'm a guy. And if I jogged outside, not only would I be safe, but I would carry a gun with me. So nothing could ever happen to me. And I still won't do it because you could be run over while you're jogging. It doesn't make any sense to ride bikes or jog outdoors when you could ride a bike in your gym or jog in your gym. It just doesn't make sense. I'm not blaming a single woman or a single victim in the world. I'm giving very good advice. Don't get murdered. Don't get raped. Don't get set on fire. That's the advice I'm giving. Because my way, it's zero chance that could ever happen. Why aren't you jogging in your home? I don't get it. Or how about a gym? You don't have to go to a home gym. How about a gym? Join a gym. You're not going to get raped and murdered on the treadmill in a gym. Why do you demand to be outside without a gun all alone? If you jog outside, jog with 3 women together, and one of you bring a gun. and then nothing will ever happen to any of you. This is all good advice. It is not blaming the victim. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Liberals are just morons. All right, sponsor of the show is VRA, Vertical Research Advisory. Here's an alert for the middle class. Investing in stocks isn't just for rich people anymore. Kip Herridge left the highest levels of success on Wall Street to help mom and pop investors 23 years ago. Can't believe it's that long ago. With his amazing investment newsletter, VRA. Since then, his top performing recommendations have beaten the market just under 90% of the time, 19 out of 22 years. Meanwhile, Barron's reports the average Wall Street money manager loses to the market 90% of the time. And oh, by the way, I said yesterday that my count was up again. Today it was up dramatically. Last I looked, I didn't look at the close, but in mid-afternoon East Coast time, which is mid-morning here, I looked at my count and it was up for the day, 15%. For the day. People are happy if they make 6% a year. I was up 15% for the day because of Kip Herridge's picks. And that doesn't include any gold I own. That's just stock picks, which are primarily gold mining stocks. That's the biggest thing I own because of Kip Herridge. 2 gold mining stocks, one of which was up 24% for the day when I looked last. Let Kip prove it to you for free. Exclusively for my fans, Kip's offering his daily VRA investment letter completely free for 2 weeks. Join now at VRAinsider.com. You have no risk. It's 100% free for 2 weeks. Go to VRAinsider.com, and we shall be right back. Great guest coming up. Hi, I'm Wayne Allyn from Vertical Research Advisory, VRA, Kip Herridge's one-of-a-kind global investment and economic newsletter. Listen up! Trump is in charge. The glory days are here.
Growth rates are only going to grow from here.
This is your 4-year window to make a fortune and set up your retirement for the rest of your life. Kip wins whether the markets are up or down, whether the economy is up or down.
We set our folks up for long-term success.
For 21 years, Kip's been a friend, as well as my personal financial advisor. During that time, he's beaten the markets 86% of the time, while the average Wall Street money manager loses to the market 90% of the time. Now Kip is predicting a new golden age for the economy. Let Kip prove it to you for free. Kip's offering his daily VRA investment letter completely free for 2 weeks. Free for 2 weeks. Try it for 2 weeks. I know you'll stay for life. Join now at VRAinsider.com. Hey, Wayne Allyn Root, America Speaks. You call in and we talk about it. Your opinions, your comments, your questions. How do you call in? 800-347-ROOT. 800-347-ROOT. 800-347-7668. The show airs at midnight, East Coast time, 9 p.m. Pacific, but we tape it at 6 p.m. East Coast time, 3 p.m. Pacific. So you call in at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I talk to you, and it airs that night at midnight. The phone number again, 800-347-ROOT. That number is 24/7. You can leave voicemails. We play your voicemails on the air as well.
Hey, Wayne, what do you think about Obama?
He was a communist, socialist, Marxist radical.
I agree.
Or you can email me, wayneroot@gmail.com. I'll read your email live on the air with your comments or questions. America Speaks. Wayne Allyn Root is back. They should call me Action Jackson. Wayne Allyn Root is back. I'm always in action, man. Always in energy. Always in motion. I wrote that in my book. You know, my favorite book of all time is The Power of Relentless. And in that book, I've got all the rules I use to be successful in life. And almost all of them came from Donald Trump. And that's why my next book after that was The Trump Rules of Success, which was released in America in 2020, 6 years ago, and almost 7 years ago, and is now coming out finally. Here it is, Trump Rules. Where's Power of Relentless? You have that one over there? And Trump Rules is finally coming out in Indonesia, in Arabic. And they expect it to be the #1 book in Indonesia. It's the biggest publisher in Indonesia, the biggest Muslim nation in the world, 200 million Muslims. And they all want to, they may hate Trump, but they all want to be like Trump and they want to be rich like Trump. So I expect that to be a big hit. Trump rules success, and they've already got it ready to roll out in UAE, in Dubai. And this is my book, The Power of Relentless. And most of the rules in this book were inspired by Donald Trump, which is how I wound up writing this book. But one of the rules is always be in motion. You can never make money sitting around doing nothing. You got to be in motion. Even when you play golf, President Trump, you sit in the cart, you take a swing, you go back to the cart. It doesn't sound like much motion, but you're moving around on a golf course. He does business on the golf course. Everyone I know does business on the golf course. You got to be in motion. When you're sitting by a pool doing nothing, you're not making money. But when you're in motion, you're making money. And I'm making money every day of my life because I'm always in motion. You notice I'm the only host I know of in America who hosts every one of my shows, radio, TV, and podcast, standing up. Do you notice I'm not sitting? I'm standing. I have a standing desk. I work all day standing, and I work on TV standing, and I work on radio standing, and I work on podcast standing, and I write my commentary standing. Because I'm a big believer in motion. The day I have to sit down is the day I'll go die. That's about the end of me. I can't sit. It's like putting a dog in a cage. You know, I can't stand putting it. My dogs have never been in a cage. I know you're supposed to train them that way and potty train them. I can't put a person in a cage, except for an animal. I could put a savage murderer in a cage for the rest of his life. Of course, I wouldn't do that either. I'd give him the death penalty and hang him. But in any case, the sponsor of this segment, we got our guest patiently standing by, Tom Renz, because there's so much to talk about in the world of Dr. Fauci and in the world of the COVID vaccine, the deadly poison COVID vaccine that ruined the world. Tangible Investments is the sponsor of this segment. How important is it to own gold? China's central bank. By the way, gold was flying today. Matter of fact, let me look at the final close. I think it's important to know what it did today because I want to know what it did today. I know it was up like $100 an ounce today, plus 100 plus at one point. So here we go. Boom. Okay. Come on, guys. Let's go. Gold. Can't believe it's taking this long. Usually it takes a second. There we go. Gold. All right. So gold today was up. Wow. Gold surges. There it is. $144.80. Sorry it took that long. $144.80 to $4,566 an ounce. I told you the other day gold was on the run of a lifetime. Again, it was going to rip much higher, and I think it's going to test its all-time high of, I think it was 5,700 is the highest it went. 5,700. It's at 4,560, and I think it's headed for 6,000. And eventually 10,000 and eventually 15,000. So you got to own gold. But the question to ask to buy it at the right price, because that's what's important, is many people get misled. A lot of gold companies say we charge only 1% over cost, but that's a lie. That's a fraudulent statement. The right question is, what are you charging me over spot price? And right now, Tangible Investments is offering gold bullion at just 1% over spot. Unheard of, and they offer silver as low as 3% over spot. Tangible's been in business for more than 40 years, have handled more than $2 billion in transactions, and their team brings over 200 combined years of experience. If you want gold, silver, precious metals, or rare coins from a credible company with honest prices, call Tangible right now, toll free, 888-330-4351. That's 888-330-4351. Or go to the website they created just for my fans, rootforgold.com. That's rootforgold.com, and tell them War sent you, rootforgold.com. All right, speaking of gold, we get gold nuggets from Tom Renz, a great attorney, lead attorney against the CDC, DHS, and Dr. Fauci on the COVID-19 vaccine mandates and lockdowns. He's represented many people who suffered COVID vaccine injuries. Thank God none of them are me, because I didn't take the COVID vaccine, so I'm as healthy as a horse. He's host of the Tom Renz Show, his website, TomRenz.com, R-E-N-Z, TomRenz.com. Tom, there you are. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, Wayne. I'm very excited to see you. It's been a minute.
It's been a while. And I think you've changed. You grew a beard on me. I think that's new, isn't it? I don't think I've ever seen you with a beard and mustache, right?
Yeah, well, I was trying to cover up the face. I figured it was better for the world.
All right, you look different. I think you look good. I think you look good with a beard. So, Dr. David Morenz, I said this yesterday. This is huge news, and no one wants to admit it or talk about it. Former senior advisor to Dr. Fauci pleaded guilty to plotting to conceal federal records related to research on the origins of COVID-19. He's going to be sentenced November 12th for conspiring to defraud the U.S. government. It's a felony punishable by a maximum prison sentence of 5 years. And the question is he the fall guy? I would think if our government was honest, and I don't really think it is, they would twist his arm until his eyeballs popped out, like the movie Goodfellas, in order to convince him to take no jail time or very reduced jail time and testify against Dr. Fauci as the guy who gave all the orders. Isn't that the way we get organized crime figures? You start at the bottom and you start twisting arms till someone rats on the guy at the top. But you think probably this guy's been set up as a fall guy and he won't rat on Dr. Fauci. Is that your thought?
Well, it's going to be interesting, right? And it really depends on the DOJ and what they want to do. If they really want to get Fauci, they can, right? Now, we can, of course, go after Fauci under state law because the pardon doesn't cover that. And I would argue that we could go after him on everything right up to murder charges, reckless disregard for human life and other such things. But as far as the federal charges, I think we can go after him because even though he was pardoned, I would argue that there's an ongoing conspiracy to cover this stuff up. And, he's probably still making some money off of this stuff. We don't know. We don't know what royalty payments he's getting off this mRNA poison. We don't know what other places he's getting money. But I'll tell you, Wayne, one of the really important things in this plea deal was there's what's called a sealed supplement. Right? The sealed supplement means that there's a little more going on behind the scenes, but we're not allowed to see it. The defendant sees it, the people involved in the case see it, but we're not allowed to see it. So it may well be that the DOJ is actually going to go after the co-conspirators. Now, that's important, but there's a bit of nuance to it, right? So we know it's been leaked that one of the co-conspirators is EcoHealth Alliance because they were kind of the pivot guy on this, right? They were the guys that were behind the research that created SARS-CoV-2. The question is, are we going to go after them, and are we going to go after the people that were tied into this, or are we going to stop with Morenz and, like you said, let him be the fall guy? And there's a lot of room and some really interesting stuff there.
So I did an interview. You're a busy guy like me. I don't see anybody else's interviews. If you interviewed Trump on your podcast, I would not have seen it. I interviewed Trump last week. I assume you didn't see it. You're a busy guy. But the reality is I asked Trump on the air. I said, Fauci's a bad guy. He's evil. He's a murderer. You got to go after him. I don't care about the pardon. It's an auto pen. You got to go after the auto pen in court and break it. And you have nothing to lose. You already lose if you don't go after it. So why not try and get the auto pen thrown out as illegal? And he answered, and again, I'm assuming he was telling the truth. He answered, we are going after the auto pen. We will go after it. So I don't know if that's happening or not. But you just said that, something about him committing fraud, so that wouldn't that make the pardon automatically null and void if there was some sort of lie and fraud involved in why the pardon was issued? Wouldn't that also undo a pardon or no?
Well, potentially, the auto pen and the preemptive pardons are both challengeable, right? I think both of those could be challenged, and I think there's a good basis to do it. Whether they will or not, I don't know. And I mean, Wayne, to be real blunt with you, we've seen how the Democrats, they go after everybody. So,
and
the
we
expectation.
Don't. And we
no,
don't.
We don't. But here's the problem, right? So, I mean, I actually wouldn't be surprised at all if at the end of Trump's term, he preemptively pardons his family and anyone that they might go after, anyone the Democrats might go after. Whether you like that or not, I wouldn't at all be surprised that it happens. So if he goes after this, that removes that protection potentially against his family and himself and anybody else. If he doesn't, though, it essentially makes the executive branch akin to the mafia, because what happens then is every president from then on can just bring in criminals, let them do what they want, and then preemptively pardon them at the end of their term. So we really need to address this. It's one of the most critical issues before us. The other thing that we have to look at is if we want to go after Fauci, we're going to run into something that, I know the president likes his mRNA, and it's something I disagree with him on.
Yeah.
Vehemently. I just do.
Vehementally.
Yeah, very much. Well, here's the problem. this origin story ties in with the vaccines. Now, I don't know if you saw this because it was buried. They buried this hard. But I testified at a roundtable hearing in Congress a few years ago. And I put my personal name on a document under penalty of perjury stating that I had verified these records. I have verified records showing that there was at least one soldier out of Fort Riley, Kansas, who received the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine on several occasions in the year 2014. When they created COVID, they also created the vaccines. So one of the things that you've got to recognize is if we go after this conspiracy, it's going to implicate the vaccines also. These were all created at the same time. This is a disaster. It's also, Wayne, and I don't know anybody else that wants to talk about this but me. I also pointed out, you've always had more courage on this than about anybody I could find, honestly. And you were very outspoken on it. But one of the other things that we really need to be looking at, and it's surprising to me that the Republicans haven't latched onto this. So at the time that COVID was created and EcoHealth Alliance was involved, one of their partners was a group called Metabiota. Metabiota at that time, and they're listed in some papers, there's a lot of evidence that they were involved in this same project. At the time, one of the major owners of Metabiota was Rosemont Seneca, Hunter Biden's group.
Hunter Biden.
So Hunter Biden may well have made money off of the creation of SARS-CoV-2.
There you go.
But here's the other problem. Metabiota was also, they were funded also, and we've got the paperwork on this. They got money from In-Q-Tel. Now, In-Q-Tel, this isn't conspiracy theory. I can show you the paperwork. In-Q-Tel is the investment firm of the CIA and the Defense Department. So we know, and it looks very much, and I can show you the paper trail. Wayne, you know, if I don't have paper trail, I don't say it.
Right.
I can show you the paper trail that indicates that Hunter Biden, the CIA, the Defense Department, and many others, including potentially even the Rockefeller Foundation, UC Davis, a bunch of these big universities, were all tied in and potentially making the money off of SARS-CoV-2. Nobody seems to want to talk to me about that in Congress.
Yeah, and I've written so many articles, Tom. I mean, like 50 of them, about the fact that this was all about money. I don't know anything about population control, probably had a lot to do with it too, but I only write about the money aspect. Every politician that supported the COVID vaccine and the lockdowns and the masks and the social distancing and fights for Dr. Fauci, if you did a forensic audit, they all made money. They all owned either shares or options in the big pharma companies that made money on all of this, or they have a wife who's on the board, or a brother who's on the board, or a son who's on the board, or a father who's on the board of any of these companies, Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson. One of Trump's best friends in the world is Johnson, the owner of the Jets. They all were tied into making money. They needed the vaccine to be emergency approved, and they had to badmouth and poison and destroy and demonize ivermectin to get the vaccine approved. And ivermectin would have, almost nobody would have died, and it would have cost almost nothing, and there would have been no pandemic. It would have ended right away like it did in India, right? In India, they ended the pandemic in a matter of a week by handing out the government ivermectin and vitamin C and vitamin D and zinc to every single person. So this is the scandal of all scandals. They all got rich by making people not take the thing that would have made them well and then making them take the thing that killed them. That's a massive scandal. And then forcing people in the hospital. The number one protocol was remdesivir that killed everyone. Ivermectin doesn't kill anybody. As a matter of fact, I take it every week of my life now as a prophylactic to prevent getting sick. And anytime I feel like I might have a cold or a flu coming on, which is very rare, but a couple times a year I feel funny, I'm tired, I'm sniffling, I'm coughing a little bit. And so I immediately I pop ivermectin for 2 days in a row, and it's gone, along with massive vitamin C and massive vitamin D and massive zinc. It's gone. So this is a massive scandal. It's mass murder, and it's crimes against humanity.
Yeah, it's 100% that. And it's one of the most substantial examples of a crime against humanity in human history. I would argue I would argue that collectively, between COVID and the vaccines and the ongoing deaths that we're going to see,
Joseph
because mark my
Mengele,
words,
right? Mengele, it's like Mengele.
We're going to eventually see the causality between the mRNA vaccines and cancer. I've got a 2006 FDA document that describes gene therapy drugs. And in that document, the FDA says, watch for long-term development of cancer after taking these things. They are very, very clear.
It's happening. We have a cancer epidemic. Right now, we've got a cancer epidemic. It seems like everyone and their grandmother has cancer. And it's not just cancer, as you know, Tom. It's turbo cancer. I must have 5 different friends, who in the last couple of years have gone to the doctor with what they thought was the flu. And the doctor did tests, and he said, you've got cancer all over your body. And they died in a week. I mean, I've never heard of such thing. Even all those years that I was, railing against chemotherapy, which I think is the biggest, ridiculous waste of money and fraud that doesn't help anybody and kills everyone and poisons their bodies and destroys their immune system. They're better off with vitamin C than chemotherapy. But all those years that I railed against chemo, at least people lived for like 3 years with chemo, and then they all died. While the chemo makers made $10 million for each person. But they did live 3 years. I've never seen people be diagnosed with cancer and die in a week, or one of my friends died in a day. They said, you got cancer, we got to take you into emergency surgery right now. I was like, what? He thought he had the flu. They took him into emergency surgery that day, and they opened him up, and they found cancer everywhere. They sewed him back up, and he woke up in the hospital bed, and they said, I'm sorry, we sewed you back up. There's nothing we can do for you. And he died that afternoon. He died in 24 hours from the time they told him he had cancer. Nobody's ever seen that in history. And he was a big liberal who took every vaccine known to man. So I guarantee you, all these people dropping dead on TV, there's also an epidemic of Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. Totally vaccine related.
Well, 100%. And, we've talked about it. You can go back to when I did the roundtable with Senator Johnson, and I brought out the DMED data. And we saw a 300% increase in miscarriages. And I talked about it. We talked about the explosion of cancer back then. And I noted, because at the time, Dr. Ryan Cole was one of the first guys to actually be talking about the connection between these poisons and cancer. We knew it was happening. But now we're looking at using mRNA as a cure for cancer that it's causing. It's absolute absurdity.
Wait. I got to say something before I forget. I just read that the government has approved the new flu vaccine with mRNA. So every innocent person that thinks they're getting a stupid little flu shot, which, by the way, I've also always argued is a complete waste of money and damages your immune system in a minor way compared to the COVID vaccine. But there's no reason why anyone ever had to take a flu shot, because everyone I know ever got sick with the flu, I said to them, by the way, did you take the flu shot? Every single person said yes. I've had the flu twice in my lifetime, and it was both times was mild, and I've never taken a flu shot. I take vitamin C. It's a complete waste. It's a con. It's a scam by the government and the doctors and big pharma. They all get rich, and you're taking something you don't need, and it's bad for your body. But forget that. You don't die from it, or at least most people don't die from it. You're gonna die if you take a flu shot with mRNA. There's a chance you're gonna die. It's the same thing inside the flu shot as the COVID vaccine. Am I crazy, or is that what's going on?
No, it's exactly. It's the same platform. It's the same stuff, same lipid nanoparticles, all the same problems. And let me tell you what, Wayne, because I do my homework, right? So I've looked at the phase 3 clinical study that the FDA used to approve this poison. And Wayne, do you know that they approved this poison on an expedited basis, which means they didn't do the studies
again?
And they just like COVID. And here's the deal: that phase 3 study that they used to approve this, they did not test in any way, shape, or form to see whether it prevents the transmission of the flu. They did not test in any way, shape, or form to see whether it reduces the severity of the flu. They literally. The only thing they tested for, this is not, it should be a joke. This should be funny, but it's actually serious.
It's serious.
Only thing they tested for was whether there was an antibody response, which proves nothing, literally nothing. And in those tests, in the phase A, the class A group, one of the groups that was in that test had 5 deaths. The number of side effects that they were seeing was crazy on this. It was far more dangerous than the traditional flu shot.
Can I throw in one more?
Reason.
You left one out, Tom. I'm going to give you a good one that you left out that you must know. But if you don't know now, you're going to know it. So I read the press release from, I think it's Moderna that was approved, right? It was Moderna's press release. It was just rejected by the government, and then it was turned around and they quickly accepted it. And they said the government has accepted it based on us doing 2 more years of trials, but you get to take it right now.
Yeah.
So now you think about that. Think about that. That's like saying you get to drive a car. We're not sure if it's going to work or it might drive you off a cliff and the brakes won't work and you're going to die. But we're going to do 2 more years of testing to see if it works. But you can have it right now. Would you want that car? Who would want that car? You'd be insane to want that car. This is insanity. If they need 2 more years of trials, Tom, then no one should be able to take it till those trials are in 2 years from now. This is crazy. They also admitted in the press release that it has many more side effects than any of the original flu vaccines in the past.
Yep.
Who would take this?
Well, I don't know, but it's also interesting that just prior to this, they also reinstated the flu vaccine mandate for the U.S. Navy. So new recruits and other people, they're back to having to take the flu vaccine. Now, here's the question. Now, right now, this was only approved for 50-plus-year-olds. But how long before they move it to everywhere else? Further, there's another big issue here, Wayne, that nobody's talking about. If you normally approve a new class of drugs, with which gene therapy, mRNA drugs are a new class of drugs. And by the way, for any moron out there that's going to try and tell me these aren't gene therapy drugs, you are literally injecting genetic material into your arm for a therapeutic purpose. Both Moderna and Pfizer in their SEC filings have admitted that these are gene therapy drugs. So anybody that wants to fact check me on that is a liar or a crook. There's no question about that.
Right.
But these gene therapy drugs, they've only been on the market for 6 years now. Normally, if you're going to introduce a new class of drugs, you have to do 10 to 20 years of study. The reason for that is you have delayed adverse events, right? Delayed onset events. So you can take these shots and maybe the cancer doesn't develop for 3 years.
For
maybe
5
it doesn't
years.
develop for 5 years. You have to, the reason that they do long-term studies before they approve these things is because you can't just look at it for 6 months and know what's going to happen. You're putting new genetic material into your body. We now know there's a Yale study. There's a number of studies that have shown that this stuff is still in you for an extended period of time. We have no idea how long it stays in you, but we know that they were full of garbage when they said it's out in a few days. It's not. It stays there. It goes all over your body. It crosses the blood-brain barrier, which you mentioned, Lou Gehrig's disease and some of these other things. We know it affects the sheaths around your nerves and some of these other things. This creates a whole body inflammatory responses. The doctors looking at this that are actually honest, and thankfully we now have a few of them that are just appalled by what they're seeing, yet we continue to approve it, despite the FDA's mission to essentially protect us from bad drugs. It's insane.
It's insane. And by the way, let me mention this. I have a few friends who make the comment, and I'll never say their names. I don't want to embarrass them, but I think they're terribly wrong. I hope they're not wrong. I hope they're right, but I want to get your take because you are so close to seeing vaccine injuries. They say, Wayne, I'm okay because I took the Johnson & Johnson, and that's not mRNA. What's your response to that?
It's not, but I mean, listen, 100%. There were massive issues. I mean, Johnson & Johnson isn't even selling it anymore.
Right. They were taking it off the market.
Yeah. If it was safe, why aren't they selling it?
It caused seizures. It caused brain seizures. I know that. I know there were women who had brain seizures after taking Johnson & Johnson, 3 of them in Las Vegas. I remember the day I read the story, it was like right after it came out. And 3 women had massive brain seizures that were ruining their lives. It's truly incredible. Let me bring up a quote-unquote minor illness. When you and I talk about ALS, heart disease, strokes, blood clots, cancer, those are all life and death. They're going to kill you or they could kill you. Here's one that no one thinks of as a major, but it is major: shingles and herpes. Now, if you get shingles, I've never had them in my life. Knock on wood, thank God. 65 years old, I've never had shingles. but I hear it's the single most painful thing anyone's ever experienced in their life, and they can't go to work for like 6 weeks. They can't even put clothes on. They can't let a piece of shirt touch it. The pain is so bad. Their entire life is interrupted by shingles, and the COVID vaccine absolutely encourages shingles and herpes attacks. It can ruin your life. You know, I'm a TV host. If I had shingles all over my face, my career would end. Just like that, everything's over. So that's not a minor thing either. And a friend of mine, my accountant at the time, was like a 28-year-old gal, and she took the COVID vaccine the minute it came out, and she literally wound up dead very quickly. First, she had a shingles attack, and then the shingles got in her eyes, and she went blind. The pain of the shingles in her eyes, and she went blind, and they put her in the hospital, and they put her in a coma to heal her body. When she came out of the coma, she was blind, and then over the next 2 years, all her organs failed, and she died. So when people try and tell me the COVID vaccine, oh, Wayne, it's not that bad. You know, even if you assume you and I are wrong, Tom, I've seen all the numbers. There's about 17 million dead around the world from the COVID vaccine, 17 million. Let's just take the VAERS number, which is about 40,000. Am I in the ballpark? It's about 40,000 dead admitted on VAERS. When the swine flu vaccine came out in the 70s, 25 people died in the entire United States after 60 million took it, and 25 people died, and they canceled the entire vaccine and no one else got it because 25 people died. Now fast forward to today, there are admittedly 40,000 dead from the COVID vaccine, and no one seems to think there's a problem, and the media won't cover it. And you say, physician, do no harm. 40,000 dead. You and I think it's 17 million, but it's 40,000 dead admitted in the United States on the VAERS list that doctors call the gold standard. So 25 dead, cancel the vaccine. 40,000 dead, no problem. What are you looking at? Move along. Move along. There's nothing to see. Isn't that stunning?
Oh, it's shocking. I mean, listen, there is no argument to be made. There is no argument that anyone can make that this is not the most dangerous consumer product ever allowed to be on the market and allowed to remain on the market. I mean, this is absolutely without any question. This is like authorizing your kids to play with handguns and hand grenades. I mean, it's just insane. Why would you do this?
Good analogy. I like that. That's a good analogy, man. That's a scary analogy, but so true. And my, you know what the analogy I always use is, Tom? I always say, can you imagine what liberals would do or say, and the liberal media would do or say, if a Republican conservative CEO of a major company created a product that was killing people and covered it up and said everything's fine, it killed babies and pregnant women, and he said, no, it's not going to hurt you, it's great for pregnant women, while they had emails proving that behind the scenes he was saying it really might kill their babies. What would they say about that CEO of any major product, maybe a baby food product, baby diaper product? I'm telling you right now, they would arrest him, charge him with mass murder and crimes against humanity, and give him a Nuremberg death penalty trial.
Well, I got to tell you, Wayne, I hate saying it this way because we all know we can't have Democrats winning in November. That'd be a nightmare. These people are insane. They've moved straight into communism. But the problem is that this is a uniparty issue, right? The Republicans and the Democrats are either, there's only a handful of people in Congress or anywhere else that are still talking about this or
Ron
that are
Johnson.
willing to even address
My
it.
friend Ron
God
Johnson.
Bless Ron Johnson. The man is a warrior. He's the only guy I know with the courage to actually, go right after this. And it's appalling. The problem is this isn't really a Democrat-Republican issue. What this is the brainwashed mainstream media versus those of us who are actually smart enough to look beyond and listen to alternative media and places where you can actually get truth. The mainstream media, whether it's Fox News, whether it's CNN, whether it's MSNBC, whether it's Newsmax, they're all promoting this and trying to pretend like there's not a problem.
Because they got paid.
Tom,
they got paid to promote it. Paid to never allow Wayne Root and Tom Renz as a guest. paid to not allow the other side to talk about it, even though Fox News says fair and balanced. This is the one issue in history they were paid by the government and probably bribed by Big Pharma, or maybe indirectly bribed, because maybe Big Pharma didn't say a word, except all the ads on their network are Big Pharma ads. Take them away and they've got no income and the whole staff gets fired. So they all know their bread and butter, their salary each week is paid by Big Pharma. Without Pfizer, Fox News doesn't exist. Without Pfizer, MS Now and CNN don't exist. They all know their bread is buttered by never saying a word of negativity about any drug or vaccine produced by Big Pharma. So it was all about money and fear and intimidation and greed. And it's sickening, and it's the only issue I've ever seen where the media won't go near, well, two of them. Election fraud and the COVID vaccine are the two issues in history the media refuses to ever talk about.
But let's talk about that, because there's a tie-in. They're one and the same, right? The real steal that occurred in 2020 could not have occurred but for the changes in election law that resulted from COVID, right? So remember, before 2020, we didn't have drop boxes in 2-week elections. 2020, they changed all the rules because we got this terrible disease they claimed, except for they knew about this disease. And Wayne, if you remember, on September 1st of 2020, I dropped my first major lawsuit, and it was viral globally. And in that, we showed that they were lying about masks, death counts, lockdowns, everything else. They knew in the summer of 2020, there was a guy named John Ioannidis. He's the epidemiologist that epidemiologists look at when they need to double check their work, right? One of the most brilliant guys out there. In the summer of 2020, he put out there that COVID was going to have a case fatality rate and reproduction rate that wasn't a whole lot different than the flu, which turned out to be very accurate. We knew right away. The reason I knew is I was studying these numbers. I was looking at this and I saw Fauci was a fraud. He said one thing, but the numbers showed another. And so they knew what was happening. The honest to God's truth, and I wish we could get this to Donald Trump in a way that he would hear it. He has never heard it, and I don't know why. But to tell you the honest to God truth is it wasn't Russiagate. It wasn't Russiagate that they were talking about when they said they had a secret plan to take Trump out. It was COVID. This was planned. There's now documentation and evidence that this was alive and spreading in 2019 and that our intelligence communities knew it. We saw the Rockefeller Foundation putting out Lockstep and some of these other things that basically were telling everybody what to do. They told everybody how to talk. We saw Gates and his scenarios where he was running these pre-planning scenario type things where everybody's getting ready. What do we do when the pandemic breaks out? This was 100% planned
to defeat Donald Trump.
I am absolutely convinced that this was the insurance policy that they were talking about when they said that we're going to take Trump out, and it worked.
Tom, I wrote this. I wrote it, and I sent it to Trump. I wrote it. You and I are the only two who understand that. I said, no one understands. Some of you understand that Fauci is a liar and a fraud, and some of you understand he's a mass murderer and crimes against humanity, and some of you understand he's an evil doctor like Dr. Joseph Mengele. But what no one has put together yet, and I should have said me and Tom Renz have put together because I didn't know you had, I said, is that this was all about stealing the election, destroying his economy. That was the greatest economy in history, and destroying the election by entering mail-in ballots with no voter ID and new election rules to destroy President Trump, and also masks so people were afraid to go to the polls and they'd all choose mail-in ballots, and that's how they would rig and steal the election. It was all about defeating Trump from day one. China was in bed with Dr. Fauci and the Democrat Party in a conspiracy to take out President Trump. And I sent it to Trump, and I never heard another word. I don't know whether he ever saw it. I don't know whether he believes it. I have no idea. I interviewed him only a week ago. I did not bring it up because I'm not dumb enough to bring things like this up in interviews in public with President Trump and embarrass him with who knows what he would say. I don't say things like that. But privately, I did send it to him, and I do hope he read it and he understands the reason we have to go after Dr. Fauci is he was the guy who was in charge of destroying your presidency here in the United States.
Well, listen, you and I know this, But don't tell me some of the people around him don't. The problem is where are his advisors? Where are the people that are telling him the bad information? That's one of the big problems, because I sent out, I am looking over here on my other screen. I have sitting in front of me the document that I put together and sent in September of 2022, prior to the midterms, to a handful of Republicans in Congress. I sent them everything that you're talking about now in terms of the gain of function, in terms of this coming from the Wuhan lab. All of that was my work. They buried it. I wasn't supposed to know this. I wasn't supposed to know this. I'll tell you this. This might be breaking. I've never told this story publicly. In September 2022, after we sent this to a handful of Republicans, and I wasn't supposed to know this, but some of the staffers leaked to me that a group of Republicans got together and decided they were going to bury it until after the midterms because they thought it was too controversial and it might hurt their chances. They knew this. We gave this to them. We also gave them, in, I believe it was March of 2022, we sent them a breakdown of everything we're talking about with these COVID jabs. We had this in 2022. We knew what was happening. I filed a lawsuit on behalf of America's frontline doctors, I believe it was in 2021, that demonstrated all these things. And, that lawsuit, actually, the DOJ, we got discovery on that. And so we ended up putting that on abeyance. I would argue that lawsuit was probably the number one reason they started breaking down the vaccine mandates, because they knew that if they continued, we had discovery and we were going to have everything.
They don't want to know. They don't want to know. I'm telling you right now, Tom, they don't want to know. They don't want to hear it. I think they were all complicit, and they all feel like they'd all get charged with mass murder and crimes against humanity, and therefore they don't want to talk about it. They want to make believe they're whistling past the graveyard, and they're making believe that it never happened and that everyone will forget it, and they're hoping. And you know what? Most people are morons, and most people have forgotten it or forgiven, and they are morons if you either forgot or forgiven the lockdowns, the mask lies, the social distancing lies, the lockdowns that destroyed millions of businesses for no reason other than to defeat Donald Trump. They ruined people's lives by the millions, and all of our lives were horror, hiding in houses, loneliness, depression, drug use, alcoholism, suicides, and then the vaccines that killed millions that were mandated if you wanted to keep your job. This was all a dark place in the history of America, and people have forgotten it, and that's a sin. Just like, Tom, they forgot 9/11 and they elected a Muslim radical mayor of New York City. People are dumb as a doorknob. What else can I say? Listen, we got to run. This is the longest interview I've ever done. We got to run, Tom. My podcast is over for the night. We actually went over the hour, so I got to say goodbye. Listen, appreciate every word you said. You're a great man, Tom, and let me mention Tom's contact information again. TomRenz.com, R-E-N-Z. TomRenz.com. He's the host of the Tom Renz Show and the lead attorney against the CDC, the DHS, and Dr. Fauci on the COVID-19 vaccine mandates and lockdowns, and he's represented many people with COVID vaccine injuries. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Wayne. All right. We're calling it a night. I got to mention the sponsor of the show as I say goodnight. Zastava. How do I pronounce it, Pitar? Zastava. I can't, on the run. Who can remember these things? Zastava Arms began 170 years ago in Serbia. Today, Zastava is one of the world's most recognized names in military and sporting firearms. Now, Zastava has a product that is so legendary, no product more legendary in the whole world than the M70 in the gun world, than the M70, the battle-proven AK rifle. In 2018, entrepreneur Ranko Ristic brought Zastava firearms directly to American gun owners. Zastava quickly earned a reputation for quality, durability, reliability, and it earned Gun Importer of the Year. Many gun experts say they make the best AK-47 semi-automatic rifles in the world. One of the most recognizable Zastava rifles is the Z-PAP, the sporting version of the M70. This semi-automatic sporting rifle has a simple reputation. It's built like a tank. It features 50% thicker than standard AK receiver, longer hand guards, flip-up night sights, and grenade gas cutoff. Zastava's Z-PAP, built like a tank, built to be used, built to last. Discover the Z-PAP family at ZastavaArmsUSA.com. Remember to add in USA. because it's the USA arm that brings all the guns into America legally. ZastavaArmsUSA.com. ZastavaArmsUSA.com. Thank you, Ranko Ristic and Zastava Arms, for sponsoring our show. And that's it. We're going to call it a night. God bless you. God bless Trump. God bless America. And viva my tax-free Las Vegas. God bless and good night. All right, Wayne on the route. Dan Montano is with me. He's the CEO of Zicha Genesis Medicine, a biotech company developing medicines to treat Parkinson's, type 2 diabetes, and even heart disease. And now Zicha has a new breakthrough, exciting, to potentially reverse chronic pain. Dan, tell us about your breakthrough that could lessen or eliminate the pain for people suffering from neuropathy, back pain, or migraine headaches.
Very simple. As we've been dosing people for those other indications, they keep reporting to us the pain in their feet is gone. The pain in their back is gone. Their migraines have stopped. So as we started digging into it more over the last couple of months, we've discovered that nerve regeneration is something our molecule can treat. And we're starting to see people that we dose on Monday and Thursday, their back pain's gone. Their migraines have stopped. So we're now taking that to a medical research study here in Las Vegas.
Big one for me would be neuropathy foot pain, because I have several friends who have lived wonderful lives, successful, they're CEOs, and they could barely walk anymore because of neuropathy. What have you done for that?
Well, the people we've dosed for their diabetes have reported after a week or two that they don't have the pain anymore. So we're going to run with that and find out how much of that is true and how much of that we can repeat.
Amazing. What are your next steps?
Well, we're going to be getting a clearance here in Las Vegas to do a medical research study. We'll be doing it primarily for back pain, neuropathy, and headaches, migraine headaches primarily. We'll have that approval probably in 30 to 60 days and start dosing people here in Vegas.
And you're looking for test patients and investors, correct?
Same as with the type 2 diabetes. As you know, Wayne, you guys generate a lot of subjects for us to test, and you also produce a lot of investors for us. So we're looking for the same. Chronic back pain is everywhere. People have got it. It's serious, and we've been able to alleviate it. I'm excited. This could be the biggest thing around.
Dan, why is your approach to treating pain different?
Well, first of all, we don't camouflage the pain. We treat the nerve that is sick. We heal the nerves. With this white paper, which is on the website, curewar.com, is phenomenal. Everybody should be downloading that and reading this, like a science fiction novel on how your nerves regenerate. That's how we do it, on the nerves.
Dan Montano is the CEO of Zicha Genesis Medicine, the website cure-war.com, looking for test subjects and investors, cure-war.com.